31 billion has been lost in profits throughout the time of privatisation. Unless you get these things sorted out over the long term, we're going to continue to lose money and lose investment in important parts of our infrastructure. I think people in the trade union and labour movement who have drifted towards reform have done so because they just feel politics doesn't deliver. There's a lot of really good stuff that this government's doing, and you can see they can tell that we've got to rebalance the economy. We need to rebalance our economy away from just serving the financial industry and speculation towards building manufacturing, increasing productivity, building houses and giving people meaningful work.
Is Labour delivering on transport?
In some areas, yeah. We've got a really good announcement this morning from Heidi Alexander, which is exactly the sort of thing we want the government to be saying about bringing the railway back into public ownership. But we're not seeing that repeated in some of the mayoral authorities. We've got some trouble in London, as is well known, around pledges of insourcing. The same up here in Merseyside, and we think that's got to be an integrated approach. From wherever they're in power, they should be doing the same thing. And we still want to see our members insourced. This biggest wave of insourcing we've been promised in a generation, we haven't seen any of that yet. And a lot of the contracts that are associated with this are being let now, which would take them beyond the life of this Parliament. So it's a good start. There's more to be done. And if they get it right, revamping rail and increasing capacity in rail could be a really important part of rebuilding the country more broadly.
On that point of insourcing, back in May we saw the first railway taken under nationalisation under the legislation that Labour had set out before that. Has that been a success?
It has, but at the moment people won't see much of a change because as the passenger companies come into public ownership, they're not going to all of a sudden change. Everything's going to really stay the same until we get to a point further down the road where there's a transition into Great British Railways, which will bring the operation of the track and the passenger rail into one body. And that's going to have a lot of problems. It's going to take time to get right. But it's going in the right direction. I mean, as we've said here, 31 billion has been lost in profits throughout the time of privatisation. One of the biggest drags on productivity in the railway is the private debt acquired during that period, amounts to about 60 billion. And unless you get these things sorted out over the long term, we're going to continue to lose money and lose investment in important parts of our infrastructure.
You spoke quite passionately just now about station staff. Yeah. I mean, why should the public taxpayer pay for station staff? Is it really a good use of taxpayer money?
It's not just the taxpayer that pays for station staff. You've got to remember the 65 billion in revenue comes in through the fare box in the railways. They also get a lot of income from their commercial tenants right across the network and other tenants that use railway property. There are some taxpayers' money that goes into it through subsidies, but you would expect that to reduce now, that revenue's coming in and being used to run the service, not just being taken out in the form of profits. So there's a lot of money that's going to be saved through reducing profit leakage. So it's not true that it's just the public who pays for this. And having a properly staffed railway network is important for the public because it means the railway network will be safer. One of the things our research has shown with respect to staff assaults is one of the number one ways you end up with a situation where somebody gets assaulted is that somebody enters the network in a place that's not staffed, then comes into contact with people or staff further down the line, and that's where conflict ensues. So it's really important to have staff on the network. We want a friendly, clean environment for people to travel on. We don't want some kind of dystopia like they had on parts of the network around London before they brought into London Overground, and that's an important part of it.
Certain populist actors like the Reform Party would have you believe that the whole system can be automated and that you don't need station staff. I mean, what difference does it really make having people present?
You can automate a lot of things, and we're going to see a huge change right across the economy over the next few years with AI and automation. It's not a throwaway thing, it's extremely important. But to imagine you can just automate your way out of having to deal with workers is crazy. I mean, it would cost 80 billion to automate what's left of London Underground. You can only imagine what the cost would be to automate the entire railway network. I don't believe Reform or anyone on the populist right are committing to make that type of investment in public services. Where are they going to get that money from?
They say they are.
Well, I don't believe them for a second. They're not going to spend. Are they going to spend 80 billion on London Underground alone? Mm-hmm. Triple that for the rest of the railway network? But it's a serious point. And how do you deal with a changing economy with increasing automation and AI? The way you do that is through sectoral bargaining with the trade unions, because people are going to need to reskill, people are going to need to move from one part of the economy to another. This is something that's coming in not just in transport, right across different sectors of the economy. You can't just come out with throwaway lines and say we're going to automate a big chunk of infrastructure because workers are in dispute. It's just not serious.
Do you worry that those false promises, though, are helping to peel people away from the trade union and labour movement?
No, I think people in the trade union and labour movement who've drifted towards reform have done so because they just feel politics doesn't deliver. You get promises from politicians year after year, no matter who you vote for. It feels kind of similar. I mean, the sad thing is there's a lot of really good stuff that this government's doing, and you can see they can tell that we've got to rebalance the economy. There's investment strategy coming in. There's the skills stuff with Skills England and the equivalents in the other nations. There's plans to invest in rail and reduce some of the private ownership of it. But they're not convincing people because a lot of other stuff that's going wrong that they're getting wrong. So they need to really step that up. The number one thing people are interested in are class issues. You have got to address the question of work-life balance and living standards in Britain. The only way you can do that is through driving wages up and bringing down the cost of living. If they want to address the rise of populist parties or people leaving to vote for other people, they need to make people wealthier and feel more secure.
Do you think that Labour can spend their way out of a reform government?
It's not just about, look, this isn't just a simple question of austerity. As I've been saying here, the entire structure of our economy is wrong. This is not a problem we're facing, it is a problem for today. This is 40 years in the making. We need to rebalance our economy away from just serving the financial industry and speculation towards building manufacturing, increasing productivity, building houses and giving people meaningful work. So it's not just a simple question of spending, it's about what do you do with the money that's coming in, because at the moment it's not going to investment in the places that we need it. That's a longer term approach. So where's it going? It's going into share buybacks and speculation and all the rest of it. That's where it's going at the minute. It's not going into building infrastructure at the pace we need. It's not going into building council houses so people can have homes, and it's not going into making our economy more productive. So we need to get wages up. That means profits have got to come down. That means you're going to have to do things like capping energy prices. That's something that they could do tomorrow that would have an immediate impact, not just on what people have got coming in as wages, but also for a lot of the sectors that we're trying to build up. One of the biggest barriers to productivity in a railway are energy costs. That's energy and steel. They could make a decision about how they address that tomorrow that would have an immediate impact.
Just finally, can Londoners expect a fresh round of strikes anytime soon?
We're in negotiations. We're working hard to get a settlement. Like I always say, we're never afraid to negotiate. We always want to reach a deal. That's our number one thing. We're never afraid to settle. But at the same time, if we can't make ground, we're never afraid to take our members out in action if that's what they want. So we'll carry on with the discussions. With a bit of luck, we'll see our people coming up for air with something that we can discuss with our members fairly soon. We'll take that to them, discuss it with them, and hopefully we can get a settlement.